everybody to Riding with the Agents. We are going to tour downtown Austin today. So the downtown zip code is 78701. I like to say Austin has its own city bird, and that is the building crane. Just because it's constantly, new high-rises are coming up. In the 10 years I've been here, the city has transformed. We have at least double, if not triple, as many high-rises. And you know, each year there's the tallest building in Texas, a new one, and it's going up in Austin. They just keep building them taller and taller, bigger and bigger. I would say the thing that disappoints me most, though, with a progressive city like Austin is still our reliance on cars. I mean, they're doing a lot to have bike lanes and, you know, pedestrian friendly type of traffic ways, but one of the tall buildings that just went up that Facebook originally took the entire lease out on, now with kind of the downturn they're subleasing it, but I think it's like 76 stories, and I think it's currently the tallest building that just finished, but 18 floors of the 76 is parking. Can you believe that? I mean, 18 floors of parking. I mean, I think that's just a waste. You know, I think the soil in Austin isn't the best, and so, you know, they could go down 18 stories, but that might be tough. But just overall, I wish they could eliminate that need, get more people to bike in or just live downtown. And just imagine who wants to be on the 18th floor, right? That would just suck driving. All right, so we are on South First Street, and we're about to go over the South First Street Bridge. And directly in front of us is going to be the City Hall. And if you look from a top, so the W is the building right behind the City Hall, kind of the glass building facing us, the rectangular one. I used to live up there, and when you look down over the City Hall, it actually is supposed to look like a armadillo, which we have a lot of those down here in Texas, and in Austin you'll sometimes see them as roadkill, unfortunately. But the City Hall is there, and then we have a lot of great places in downtown Austin. What is great about downtown Austin is, being a newer downtown, is you have a really good mix of businesses and residential buildings. So it's not a ghost town on the weekends or in the evenings. Oftentimes it's even more livelier. We actually came down here, like started scouting back in 2013 to move down here, and we came during South by Southwest, SXSW, and or some people just, you know, call it South by, and the entire city is just taking over during South by. It's just crazy, tons of activity. There's always events going down here. If it's not South by, it's F1, it's the random conferences going down, happening downtown. So there's always some sort of event, a film festival, a comedy festival, what have you. All right, so we just passed over the South First Bridge, and what's great is what we crossed over is the Colorado State River, or the Colorado River, which is not the same one as what's in Colorado that carves through the Grand Canyon. The Colorado River here is within Texas only. And that is the river that gets dammed up, and so, you know, Lake Travis is west of Austin, and that is the Colorado River that's just dammed up. And then Lady Bird Lake or Town Lake, that's all Colorado River that's just dammed. So we're turning here on 2nd Street. This is kind of a restaurant district, so great restaurants here and local shops. If you're a local company, you get a discount on rent, so they really try to cater to some of the local brands. Right in front of us, that kind of dark wood building, that is a JW Marriott. That was probably delivered about 5-6 years ago, and at least at the time, it was the largest JW Marriott in the Western Hemisphere. It has, I think, 1,040 rooms. And it was then the largest hotel also in Austin, but since then the Fairmont, which is that all glass building kind of in the distance with the tall antenna, I think that thing topped it at just 40 rooms more, at like 1,080 rooms. All right, so we're going to turn left onto Congress. And what's amazing about Congress is directly in front of us, you have the Texas state capitol, which was also the only state capitol in the country to ever be a national capital, because for a time there, Texas was kind of its own country. All right, so we are now on Congress. There's the state capitol directly in front of us. So downtown has a lot of different areas. I'm not going to be able to cover them all today, but we are going to drive through some of the more popular areas, and that includes 6th Street. And so I'm just going to turn down 5th Street because 6th Street is a one-way. Actually, what I could try to do is I could try to get over to Rainey. That's a great area that if you're looking to go out with some friends and have a little bit, it used to be a very relaxed vibe because all these old bungalows from like the 20s and 30s were converted into bars, but it had a very relaxed vibe. But of lately, it's just, you know, just as crazy as anywhere else. It's, you know, you have, I would say, a few main areas to go out in downtown Austin. You have Rainey Street, you have Dirty 6th, you have West 6th. Those are the main areas in downtown, the core of downtown Austin, to go out. As far as residences here, you do actually have some I guess houses or kind of like row houses right there on Congress, like at 7th and 8th Congress. There are a handful of units there, but for the most part in downtown Austin, you're going to be looking at apartments and condos. And there's been a lot more getting delivered, and each year there's hundreds more units getting delivered. But what is nice is you do have a mix of just your traditional apartments and condos, but then you also do have the, of course, luxury condos, but also the hotel condominiums. So the W, which I mentioned earlier, those are hotels and condominiums. So the first like floors, 4 through 17 are hotels, and then floors 18 through I think 35 are all residences. You have the same thing with the Four Seasons. Great location just on the lake, off of Cesar Chavez. And then also the Hilton, which is, you could have seen it a little bit on 5th Street. Those are also hotels and residences. And even Airbnb, I don't think it delivered yet, but on Rainey Street, they were doing kind of like Airbnb / residences where you could own them, but then also put it in the Airbnb inventory so they could rent it out for you. And there's I'm sure new ones that I didn't even mention yet. Cedar Door, I always love going to their South by events. They always have great food and music and speakers. The convention center is just here on the left. If you look now, there you can see it just only underneath the Fairmont. Also a nice amenity while living downtown is I was able to walk here to the Baylor Scott and White Clinic just for my annual physical. And they even have, which was pretty amazing, is masseuse, where you just could book a time. My insurance didn't cover it. I don't know how many insurers would cover it, but you just got it through like more of a clinical setting. So it just felt a little bit more professional. And you didn't have to worry about tips or anything like that because it was all just built into the rate. It was a much more kind of formal process. All right, so I don't really like to drive downtown for obvious reasons. Traffic, bikers, pedestrians, scooters, you name it. It could get pretty hectic. But for this tour, this is probably still the quickest way to cover ground. So I'm going to go ahead and get in the right lane. This is about to be a huge project that's being undertaken. This is going to be a huge mixed-use development here on the right on the lake. Going to be beautiful. And it's going to take years to complete. Just like everything takes a little bit longer than you'd like. The convention center is on the left, and the Fairmont does have a pedestrian bridge connecting it to the convention center, which is great. All right, so we're going to turn on Red River. If you head north on Red River, that's where a number of music venues are if you get to like the 7th, 8th Street area. All right, so we're entering Rainy, so on the weekends, they do block this off, so it's just pedestrian traffic. They do the same thing in the Dirty Sixth area, just because there's so many people. Royal Blue Grocery is a local kind of convenient grocery store. They have a dozen or more around the city. And here's Rainy. So when I moved here back in 2013, none of this really existed. These were all just tiny little bars, like that first one on the corner. They had already been converted into bars. There were still some houses left, but mostly bars. But now it's bars and hotels and apartments and condos, and just a ton of traffic. So this is not a great example of what Rainy Street is like, at night or on the weekends. You don't see any of this traffic, and you just see mobs of people. What is nice about living in Rainy is we're right off of I-35, so if you have easy access to I-35, you could go all the way basically down to Mexico, all the way up to practically Canada. Let's try to make a little bit of room. So a lot of development going on. I think just above us is 70 Rainy Street, which is a new development. So if you watch any of our other videos, you will just see a bunch of food trucks. Food trucks are everywhere in Austin. Frankly, I feel like there might be fewer food trucks than there were, say, 5 years ago, just because of, they're a great kind of holding point. That was my mistake. They're a great kind of way to bring in income while you're, kind of holding on to land, waiting for maybe it's appreciate or for a developer to come and develop something nearby. And now, since we've had a lot of development, those kind of food truck parks have kind of gone away. So we passed up a little bit back there at I think it's like the Mexican American History Museum or something. Kind of one of the cultural arts things we have here in Austin. But you could jump on, again, living in Rainy, the benefit is access to I-35 and also access to Lady Bird Lake, and the trail that goes around it. All right, so let's try to pick up some time and head back to the downtown area and off of Rainy. Be easier said than done. I think the fastest thing is going to be to cross under I-35. Oh, look at that. You can hit this light, cross under I-35. So this is the east side. You're gonna save some money moving to the east side. It's definitely gentrification happening. So just these homes that don't look like much will easily fetch $500,000 or more, just because that's what the land value is worth. It's kind of nuts. And then up here is Cesar Chavez, which there's a bunch of restaurants, bars. Cesar Chavez up to 6th Street or East 6th, you see a lot of residences, and then on that East 6th area, just like carried on from the west of the highway, there's a bunch of restaurants and bars, and it's becoming very trendy to go out on East 6th with some great restaurants out there and nightlife options. And this whole development here, I think it's Plaza Satio maybe. There's a Snooze breakfast spot in there. There's a Whole Foods in there, a Target. A lot of great apartments. If you're a young professional looking to move into the city, that's a great place to land. All right, and here we are on 6th, so we're gonna turn here. So for anybody wondering about the safety of Austin, Austin has always been a very safe city. I would say over the last few years that we have seen an increase in crime and things like that, which I feel a lot of cities have seen. But one of the things that happened is our city council did pass a resolution that no longer banned or outlawed panhandling or camping in public spaces. And so we saw a huge influx of panhandlers and homeless people downtown, around the lake, underneath the overpasses, and so forth. And with that came an increase of crime and so forth. Now, about 6 months or a year ago, the city garnered enough votes to bring it to an election, or bring that decision to an election, and the majority of Austin citizens voted to repeal that law, making it once again illegal to panhandle and camp in public spaces. And so there's been a lot of cleanup, but it's still all about enforcement. And so depending on the day, you may or may not see tents and so forth. It's drastically improved from where it was 2 years ago, but from where it was before the city council did that, it's still not to the level it was, unfortunately. But it is much better. There was a time where it didn't feel the safest there in that kind of 3-year window when they repealed the laws, and now it definitely feels better. All right, so this is all Dirty Six. So this place is just nuts on the weekends, especially, or Halloween, or after UT games, because UT is only about 1.5 miles north of us. Lots of great bars and even great restaurants here. This is a place where you will see a lot. Iron Cactus right there's a great restaurant to get some tableside guac and just do some people watching on a weekend night if you're coming from out of town. Great music, live music everywhere down here if you come between, say, like 7 and 10 p.m. on a Friday, Saturday. But what I was saying is there's a lot of college kids that come down here. If you are that age, and you're just you want to go to a shop bar, there's a shop bar for you. We just passed the Driscoll Hotel, which is kind of an iconic, I would say, landmark of Austin. Lots of stories there about Driscoll. All right, so once you cross over Congress, you're no longer in Dirty Sixth. We're now moving to what's called West Sixth. So here in a couple blocks, once we get past more of these kind of business areas, we will get back into the restaurant and bar scene. So there's another area in downtown called the Seahome District, and that's a great little area, kind of up here to the left. If you look, kind of you take west down to Seahome, there's some great restaurants, ice cream shops, and so forth. There's a Trader Joe's. It connects also to the creek right here. I always get the two creeks mixed up, whether it's Shoal or Walnut. I think Walnut was the one back there in Dirty Sixth that goes up to Waterloo, and then the Shoal Creek is here. That there's a trail you could take from Seahome that kind of winds through to take you to Whole Foods. So when we were living at the W, I was able to take my little one like in a stroller all the way to Whole Foods without ever feeling like I was gonna get clipped by a car. So I was mentioning Whole Foods, now owned by Amazon, but Whole Foods kind of started in Austin and had its flagship store right here downtown. And so at Christmas time, like now, they actually have an ice skating rink there. During South by, bands will play there. We actually saw who performed there? Dashboard Confessional, or at least two of the band members, and then we didn't see them, but later Hanson played there, the 90s Mbop brothers band. So this is downtown. So I would say the market rates have went from say $500 to $1,000 a square foot, probably to like $750 to $1,500 a square foot. So not cheap, and the property taxes around 2.8%. If you go out to some of the more kind of not outskirts, but areas outside of this kind of downtown urban area, the rates might go down to 2.1, 2.2% tax rates. But overall, we don't have an income tax, and so we make it up with property tax. You have to fund the schools somehow. All right, and this is Whole Foods to the left, and this is going to conclude our tour of downtown Austin. Hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see a specific part of town, or you want a virtual tour of a specific unit or house for sale, please feel free to reach out, and we'd love to give you a tour.